there's also some things going on in the National Football League that we're seeing some players start to succeed, some players slump, and the guy who can help me with that is Max Chadwick, PFF College Football Show, but from PFF giving us all the grades and what we need to know about what's going on in the National Football League. Great to have you, Max. And guess what? I want to start here because the reason why I'm in this seat right now is because Rich Eisen flying back from Germany because he was on the broadcast of the Giants and the Panthers. That game was won by the Panthers. And I know people are going to say it's not a great win. Panthers over the Giants, but somebody had to win that one. But let's give the man his flowers because they wanted to bury the dude a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago. He's done. He's finished. He got benched by Andy Dalton. But Bryce Young is still a quarterback. He's still a Heisman Trophy winner. And there are some things that we've seen over the last couple weeks that Bryce Young may not have the greatest statistical numbers, but it's showing that, look, I can still play the quarterback position. He had a touchdown yesterday. Wasn't overly great, but 15 of 25. What are you seeing, or what are the grades showing when it comes to Bryce Young, Max?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Kirk, first of all. And yeah, I think Bryce Young is showing people why we were so high on him coming out of Alabama, right? This past week against the Giants, he had a 71.5 PFF grade. That was 10th among all quarterbacks in the NFL. And also, Kirk, it's the back-to-back weeks now where he's had a 70-plus PFF grade. He hadn't had a 70-plus PFF grade all of last season. In fact, his last time he had a 70 grade was in December of last year. Now, listen, it's too early to call on whether or not the Panthers should move on from him or keep him right now. But if he keeps playing like this, I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback. And I think Bryce Young will go into year 3 as a starting quarterback. They'll probably bring in another veteran to battle him a little bit or have as a backup. But I've been really impressed by Bryce Young over the last couple of weeks. I understand it's the Saints. I understand it's the Giants. But at the same time, he's doing well against those teams when he was kind of a disaster to start the year. So, yeah, Bryce Young definitely deserves his flowers for the last 2 weeks especially.
Do I need to bring up Daniel Jones? I mean, no touchdowns yesterday, 2 interceptions. It's like, I mean, are we just beating a dead horse at this point? Like, when it comes to Daniel Jones, are the numbers backing it up now? The grades backing up the performances that we're seeing?
Yeah, they are, honestly. Daniel Jones, like I said, Bryce Young, we don't know if the Panthers should draft a quarterback or not. We know the Giants should draft a quarterback. I think it's pretty obvious that Daniel Jones is just not going to be the guy for the Giants. And, you know, he's had a long time as well, right? He was drafted in 2019. It's not like Bryce Young, who was only drafted a couple years ago, right? So he's had, 6 years now to prove he's the guy. And he hasn't really done it for the Giants either. So, yeah, listen, I think this is his last year in New York, unfortunately for him. And I do think the Giants, with probably a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, if not higher than that, they'll probably be taking a quarterback with that first-round pick.
You know what's funny about this? And I'm talking to Max Chadwick, the co-host of the PFF College Football Show, the PFF. Also follow him on Twitter at Max Chadwick CFB. I would love to know this, because if someone asked me a question, if you could draft a quarterback right now in the NFL, who would it be? We all know I'm going Patrick Mahomes. All right, Max. Like, I'm not even. You don't even have to finish up to say if you could draft Patrick Mahomes. I wouldn't even let him get it out yet. But I say that because Chiefs are 9-0. They're winning football games. But if you look at the rankings of quarterbacks by PFF, Patrick Mahomes is not the number 1 ranked quarterback. He's not the number 2 ranked quarterback. What are the grades showing about Patrick Mahomes that even though he's not playing his best? I mean, yesterday was okay, 28 of 42, 266, 1 touchdown, but it's not what we are accustomed to seeing. What are the grades saying about Patrick Mahomes? Because to me, he still has room to grow in a season that is unlike what we've seen in a long time with the Chiefs.
Yeah, honestly, you mentioned it right there. I still think he's clearly the guy in the NFL, right? I mean, 3 Super Bowl championships by, age 27 will tell you that. He's still a top 5 highest graded quarterback in the NFL. I think you're just seeing the Chiefs don't have really the weaponry that they used to have. You know, like Rashee Rice going down with an injury was big. Travis Kelce has been good for them, but he hasn't been like the Travis Kelce that we've been accustomed to lately. You mentioned how you would draft Patrick Mahomes over any quarterback in the NFL. I would draft Steve Spagnuolo over any defensive coordinator probably right now in the NFL. That guy is a mastermind, and honestly, he was the biggest reason why they won yesterday, and also the biggest reason why they won the Super Bowl last year. I mean, the Chiefs, listen, I know they have Mahomes and Kelce and all that. The Chiefs were a defensive team last year. That defense was unbelievable, and they have another elite defense this year as well. So Steve Spagnuolo deserves all the credit in the world for just being a mastermind defensively. Obviously, got great talent on that side of the ball as well. But yeah, Mahomes is still playing at a great level, don't get me wrong, but the Chiefs are just a really well-rounded team, especially on the defense. That's why they're, back-to-back Super Bowl champions right now.
Max, yesterday marked a return, a season debut. Can you believe that? We're all the way in the 10th week of the NFL. We had a season debut from Christian McCaffrey. And so I'm like, oh, okay, Christian McCaffrey's back. And Deebo Samuel told us last week, Max, hey, watch out, we back. We're like, all right, whatever. Christian McCaffrey's going to be back. We'll see what the 49ers can do. Then all of a sudden, Brock Purdy turned back into Joe Montana. I mean, yesterday we saw the numbers, 25 of 36, 353, 2 touchdowns. What did the grades look like, and what have they looked like before McCaffrey came back? In the one game that he does come back, have we seen the Brock Purdy? Is this the Brock Purdy we envision this season?
Yeah, Purdy's been pretty good for them all year, honestly. Like, he's played like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. It's continued to be amazing. His career arc going from Mr. Irrelevant to a guy who's going to get a massive contract. I can guarantee you that very, very soon. So, getting Christian McCaffrey's back not only is great for the 49ers, but also for my fantasy team as well. But listen, McCaffrey was 70 grade yesterday. That's sixth among all running backs. 83.6 receiving grade. That's the second best among all running backs, behind only James Conner yesterday. Also, really good pass protector, too. I think that's really kind of an underrated part of his game. He had the fifth best pass blocking grade among all running backs as well. 19 touches for 107 yards, average like 6 yards per touch. Now, he only broke 2 tackles total on those 19 touches, so he's still kind of getting his feet wet. It wasn't like a ultimate Christian McCaffrey performance like we're accustomed to, but he's still going to be a critical part of this 49ers offense as they really try to make a push for the playoffs right now.
One thing I was looking at too yesterday is when you look at just quarterbacks in general, and obviously the young quarterbacks. CJ Stroud had a tough night yesterday, but the quarterback who was taken number 1 this year has had a struggle over the last 3 to 4 plus games, and that's Caleb Williams. Getting sacked a lot more. What's the offensive line grade? Is it offensive line for Caleb Williams? Is it him just holding the ball too long? What are the grades telling us about why Caleb Williams is in this slump?
Yeah, I think there's no denying the offensive line can definitely be improved. They had the 10th worst offensive line grade yesterday at 63.7. Obviously, 4 sacks allowed as well. But I will say they had the 10th best pressure rate allowed. And I think that kind of goes into another thing with Caleb Williams, that when he was at USC, a lot of people blamed the USC offensive line for not giving him enough time. They actually were pretty good. Caleb Williams, for as amazing as he is as a quarterback, and I'm not taking that away from him, he is a notoriously very difficult quarterback to block for, because he obviously tries to dance around back there, hold on to the ball for a very long time. Right now, he's holding on to the ball over 3 seconds average time to throw. That's the 8th longest in the league right now. He breaks clean pockets a lot as well. I think there's some issues with Caleb Williams just playing too much backyard football. Now, again, the offensive line can be improved. I'm not denying that. I think anyone with eyes can see that. But at the same time, I also think Caleb Williams has got to change his play style a little bit. Not obviously take it away, because obviously it's a double-edged sword, because obviously it makes him look great in the first place. But at the same time, tone it down a little bit, because I do think that he's putting his offensive line in tough situations out there.
He's putting his offensive line in some tough situations, but I look at another guy who kind of plays a similar type of game. And you mentioned your fantasy team. Well, I was the guy who decided to say, you know what? He's playing well. His team is playing well. Let's start Jared Goff over Kyler Murray. Let's see how that work out for you. Well, last night I was over there pulling out the actual hair follicles I still have left, which is very slim, none. But I say that, Max, because what is Kyler Murray showing right now? The 2 rushing touchdowns obviously is something that he's still getting out of the pocket, making some things happen, a lot of design runs. But then he's throwing the ball well, too. One touchdown throwing. What are the grades showing when it comes to Kyler Murray right now and the 6-4 Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL, honestly. I know going into the year, a lot of people didn't even consider him to be a top 15 quarterback in the league. I never really understood that. I mean, he is obviously, like you just mentioned before, he's an elite rushing threat. And also he's like a top 10 probably passer in the NFL as well, right? So he is such an impressive quarterback. And they're starting to get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved more in the offense now, which is good, because I do think that, when he does become the true number 1 receiver like we all think he will be, that would unlock a whole new thing in the offense as well. But Kyler Murray continues to be one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. And, that's kind of the what you're hoping Caleb Williams can turn into. I think you make a great point right there, that's kind of the comp that you're hoping for Caleb Williams right now is Kyler Murray. So, I think what he's done for the Arizona Cardinals is pretty impressive. Now, they have some issues on that team outside of him, But I do think Kyler Murray is one of the probably 10 to 15 best quarterbacks we have in the NFL right now.
Yeah, just a couple more minutes here with Max Chadwick, PFF College Football Show, the co-host. And no matter what you're looking for, PFF Plus has what you need to make winning decisions all season long. Sign up for PFF Plus for less than $10 per month, because if you would have signed up for PFF Plus, you would have learned and understood that Sam Darnold is turning into a pumpkin right before our eyes. Right? Sam Darnold yesterday, like, come on. Like, you're watching Sam Darnold in the early parts of the season, and you're saying, okay, the Vikings have something. Sorry, J.J. McCarthy, even through the injury, Sam Darnold is the guy this season. Everything is all well in Minnesota. And then you see the game like yesterday against Jacksonville, and you're saying, if they didn't have a field goal kicker, where would this game have been for the Minnesota Vikings? They find a way to win, but it wasn't because of their quarterback. I know he threw for 241 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. When you look at Sam Darnold week to week, what is the grading of Sam Darnold? Is it pressure? Is it him holding on to the ball, similar to what you talked about with Caleb Williams? What have you seen from Sam Darnold?
Yeah, it's just a roller coaster, honestly. And I think that's kind of what we've seen from Sam Darnold. Obviously, a lot more downs than ups in his career. But now going into a great situation in Minnesota with a great play caller and Kevin O'Connell, obviously great receivers with Justin Jefferson there as well. It's just a roller coaster, right? 56.5 passing grade yesterday. It's just not going to usually get it done. And obviously his team was able to get it done in this one. But it's just a roller coaster. And that's ultimately, the Minnesota, a lot of people thought, after their hot start to the year that maybe, they can win the Super Bowl maybe. I just never thought they could with Sam Darnold as the quarterback. And especially with that roller coaster play like that, if that shows up in the playoffs, that's probably where they're going to get bounced in the playoffs, honestly. So you just never know what you're going to get from Sam Darnold. There's something I will not deny. There are some games where he looks unbelievable out there. But there's also games like yesterday where he just didn't look very good. And that's why he's more of like a league average quarterback, even in a great situation like Minnesota right now. So that's probably going to ultimately cap the ceiling for what the Vikings can do this year.
Max, before I get you out of here, before the early part of the season, all the kickers was kicking them 50-yard kicks. And everybody was all excited. Oh, the NFL needs to narrow the goalposts. And I said, just wait. Just be patient. We're going to get to November and start having, look, we have weather. You're going to have some nerves. The kicks are going to be changing. We saw 2 50-plus yard field goals to tie a game and also to win a game yesterday from obviously Jake Bates and the Lions. What's been the grade on kickers now that we enter into the month of November? Obviously, I seen those grades are starting to go down. Now everybody can relax about all these kickers kicking 50-yard field goals.
Yeah, definitely. I think the kickers are obviously getting better. I don't think anyone can deny that. Like the fact that we're, breaking records for field goals, like it seems like every few years or so, is crazy when those records used to stand for a very, very long time. And, 50 plus yards, I remember like 10 years ago, we're like, oh, those are really long kicks. Like now it's kind of the norm for kickers. Like if you miss a 50-yarder, you're like all of a sudden you want to get cut. Other fans want you cut, right? So it's amazing how good the kickers are nowadays. But at the same time, you're right, though. Like, right, the weather's getting worse. It's harder to kick in cold weather and all the rain and eventually snow that we'll get as well. And obviously, the games are going to get bigger as well. So even the pressure on these kicks gets even bigger, too. So there's no denying that the kicking has gotten a lot better as the NFL continues to go on. And kickers continue to get better and better. And, 55-yarders are like nothing in today's day and age, which is crazy. But, yeah, like you said, kicking will probably start to go down a little bit once the weather in November and December starts to get a lot worse.
Max, I'm going to let you go, but I did lie to you. I said I was the last one. I got one more only because he was on everybody's draft board. And then 2 weeks in a row, Carson Beck, quarterback at Georgia. Yeah, a lot of people are now taking him off the board. So what's the grade really quickly on Carson Beck?
Yeah, he's struggling right now. And I think that, there's a comparison for him preseason to Jared Goff for the NFL draft. I think that comparison works, but in college football, because Jared Goff is a guy I would say in the NFL, if you have a great supporting cast around him, he could win you ball games. Carson Beck is the same way, but in college football, which makes it even scarier when you're projecting him to the NFL, because Georgia, the receivers, they don't have Brock Bowers anymore. They don't have Ladd McConkey anymore. They really don't have guys anywhere close to that in the receiving core. And the offensive line in that Ole Miss game just could not hold up. And Beck was bad because of it, honestly. So Carson Beck, I think he went from a guy that a lot of people thought could be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Now I'm seeing stuff about him being a third round pick in the NFL draft, right? right? So it's been a rough year for Carson Beck, and it's a wide open quarterback year. But to me, it seems like it's down to Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward for QB1 in the NFL draft.
We fall down. All right. PFF has you covered all season long with the best data, tools, and analysis in the game. Max Chadwick, co-host of the PFF College Football Show, man. Appreciate the time, Max. Thanks for the knowledge, man, and catch up with you soon.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.